Hello and welcome to the program. I'm your host, Neil Howard, here on Health Professional Radio. Glad that you could join us again. In this segment, going to have a conversation with Imagine Dragons frontman Dan Reynolds. Now, Dan is using his famous, amazing voice to raise awareness of unexplained back pain that could be inflammatory arthritis of the spine called Ankylosing Spondylitis, also known as AS. Now, Dan was diagnosed with this disease early in his 20s. It's a painful condition that can cause inflammation and pain throughout the spine, including the lower spine, the buttocks, and the hips. Now, we're catching up with Dan right now to talk about the band's incredible success story and his role in raising awareness for unexplained back pain that could be AS. Joining Dan is Dr. Hillary Norton. She's a rheumatologist who also has AS. Welcome to the program, both Dan and Dr. Norton.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Dan, Imagine Dragons has achieved so much in such a short amount of time. What do you love most about being in the band? Well, what do you love most about being a musician?
You know, I think it's probably the typical thing that most people would think, which is, to be able to travel the world and get on a stage and sing along with other people and connect over music. And to be on stage is just an incredible feeling, and I feel super fortunate to be able to do it.
Now, as someone who's lived with unexplained back pain, how does it impact your daily life?
Well, it really has altered my life for better or for worse. It just was a part of my story. So to take you back about 10 years ago, when I was really living with this unexplained back pain, it came on kind of out of nowhere. There was nothing I could point to, no mechanical injury, which is common with inflammatory back pain. It was really frustrating because I went from doctor to doctor and no one knew what it was. I was misdiagnosed, in fact, sometimes. And this happened for years. And when you're in a lot of pain, living with chronic pain, it's just incredibly frustrating, not to mention painful. And so, when I finally was able to see a rheumatologist and get properly diagnosed with ankylosing spondylitis, it saved my life, it saved my career. In those early days when I was undiagnosed, I was not even able to perform on stage. I was so incredibly stiff and in pain. That's why it's really important to me to be a part of this campaign, to direct people to monsterpainintheas.com. Take a few-minute quiz, and you can find out if it sounds like you have AS and be then directed to a rheumatologist in your area. If I had those resources available to me 10 years ago, it would have been a very different story for me. I wouldn't have dealt with pain for years and years. And so, and this is a really important cause.
So Dan, what is it that you hope to achieve by sharing your experience living with unexplained back pain?
I really hope to achieve more of kind of what I've seen over the last couple years of being a part of this campaign, which is spreading awareness to make this more mainstream. There are millions of people suffering from it and probably millions of people undiagnosed still. I've met a lot of people who have come up to me on the street or at a show and said, hey, I took that quiz on monsterpainintheas.com and I found out that I was diagnosed with AS shortly after from a rheumatologist. And so, thank you, it changed my life. And hearing something like that, that's everything to me, because I know what that feels like to be that person. And your life just feels like it's falling apart when you have something like ankylosing spondylitis. So fortunately for us, we have people like Dr. Norton who do this incredibly important work, and it's been a wild journey.
Dr. Norton, you're a rheumatologist who also lives with AS. What advice can you share with others to help them manage the disease?
Yeah, like Dan, I also experienced a long delay in diagnosis. So we're both just very excited to be working with Novartis on this initiative to help raise awareness for the disease, to really make AS a household word so that other people don't have to suffer the way that we did for so long without knowing what was going on. So I get very excited about being able to educate people about what AS actually means. Since most people have back pain at some point in their lives, when the symptoms first come on, we often don't even seek treatment until it gets pretty scary and pretty bad. And that was the case with me. I always thought it was something to do with my workout. When things got pretty bad, I finally sought treatment and was misdiagnosed, as Dan was. And I finally got to the point where I couldn't get myself out of bed anymore. So it's really important to me to be able to explain the difference between inflammatory and mechanical back pain. Because inflammatory back pain gets very bad at night, particularly the second half of the night. It's usually better with activity, and it's usually worse with rest. This is chronic inflammation, so it can come and go in the early stages. It's really important to get to a rheumatologist so that we can come up with an individual treatment plan, and that involves not only medications, but healthy lifestyle choices. So things like eating an anti-inflammatory diet, exercising regularly, not smoking, getting enough rest. All these things are very important in helping to manage AS.
Thank you both, Dan and Dr. Norton, for joining us today. Is there anything else that you'd like to add?
Oh, you really covered it well. Thank you for having us.
Thank you for helping.
Thank you. You've been listening to Health Professional Radio. I'm your host, Neil Howard. Audio copies of this program are available at hpr.fm and healthprofessionalradio.com.au. You can also subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, listen in, download it, SoundCloud, and be sure and subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com, Health Professional Radio.